poems that are actually in what I hope will become my next collection potentially, from the time that I was able to live in Mexico with my family. And I actually see one of my family members in the Zoom here, so shout you out down in Jalisco. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get into it. It's a series of poems that I'm working on that explore some of the darker elements of Mexico, although there's a lot of beauty there. In my time there, I think as a man, I was sort of tapping into the power structures and machismo and how toxic that can be. So the first poem, it's called On the Bus from Mexico City. Young bands, raps, dead faces, dollar signs, all I see. Cash rules every fucking thing around me. And the American part of me. I like long titles, by the way, that's the title. The American part of me is vibing because no one notices, because everyone is too busy being baptized from a long day's work. And after this, I can't go back to what I thought I knew about appetite, about hustle beneath any sun. I'm where there are no pockets left untouched, and where sometimes there are no teeth. They say chilangos shouldn't be trusted, but I am surrounded by the electric rush of pulque in my mouth. Once, I was ready to be stripped down. I was lost in a labyrinth of broken glass and stray dogs, and a group of chacas were drinking in the middle of my chest. I imagined it happening, giving them my backpack, my wife's expensive camera, clearly out of bounds from where we were told to stay as tourists. I was caught slipping, was ready to pay the price of my privileged sneakers. I walked up to ask for directions, told the men I was lost but glad to see them. They looked at me, that slowly pointed towards what seemed to be a dead end. But as it turned out, it wasn't an ending as much as it was a beginning. Yeah, so I got the privilege, like I said, to live in Mexico for about 8 months. I saw a lot. Most of my family still lives there, including my mom. I have very little family in the US, so it always feels good to go back, and I try to do it as frequently as I can. But yeah, one time I got lost, like in a really different neighborhood, and I was very out of place, and so was my wife. And it was one of those situations where, as a world traveler, I have prepared to come into a situation where I might wander off too far, and it definitely felt like that moment. And a group of dudes that were just drinking in the street and sort of looked like they could have malicious intent, depending on how you look at them. I just walked up to them and asked for help, and they pointed me in the right way, and sort of, it looked like they were leading me down the wrong way, but I trusted them, and I ended up making it to where I needed to. And it taught me a big lesson about just trusting people. Yeah, so here's another one. Chupacabra Ballad. These fields are open and dry-throated. The wandering bulls haven't been fed. My tío drives me around an avocado orchard in Michoacan, hands me the keys to a gate. He forgets which one opens the muscular lock, but I haven't forgotten about myself, about El Chupacabra, 1995. We've been bleeding out while the machos are busy mounting their horses. Their hooves are untamable in the wildest daylight. I've seen a body ditched on the side of the road. I've seen a trample of fingers and stomachs, the grab of hungry hands. A microphone is turned on so the governor can sing. Mezcal is poured before, during, after. Look, this isn't beauty as defined by the romantics. It's a mirror framed at an imperfect angle. I'm not going to talk between every poem, but I just want to say probably my wildest memory of Mexico is one of my cousins is connected in Michoacan, politically, I mean, and he knows the governor of the state. So the dude comes in a helicopter and lands his freaking helicopter, and I'm drinking with the governor of a state of Mexico. And it was a very interesting experience. And I've written more about it in this project, but that's probably as close as I've been to that level of power, especially in a country like Mexico, where to achieve that level of power, there usually has to be some other things going on the side. So it was a very enlightening experience for me that night. Um, this poem is called "There Are Three Men Inside Me." There are certain things I can say and certain things I want to breathe. I've never been good at unburying my chest. I've never learned how to make gold from vapor. Never been fabricked from iron, though I've pretended. Haven't we all? There's a big difference between being untouchable and being out of touch. I only know a certain touch. A professor once told me I have many strangers inside, selves I've yet to encounter. I think she was right. I sometimes believe we are not defined by singularities. I sometimes believe that the universe is nothing more than a rompecabezas and we are all scattered and unpieced. I prefer brokenness so I can pick through all my fragments. My smallness is a collection of my wholeness. My wholeness is never complete. Maybe there aren't three men inside me. Maybe there are more fingers extending. This next poem is also about the cousin who's involved in politics and being around him. And he actually runs a ranch with many workers, and he helps out the pueblo and things like that. So I got to meet a lot of interesting characters. So some of them are in this poem. Old man gives an uninspired speech about doing your damned best, but I can barely hear him. He's too old, too tired, and the young cowboy next to me thinks time is running out. Bodies are lining the road here, but that's another story. Zapata is framed on the wall near the main entrance, but I enter through the back. Outside, you can hear the strange wail of bulls about to clash. Have you heard it before? A deathly scream cry. The young cowboy tells me they fight often, that once they start crashing skulls, they can't be stopped. That once one bull killed another by puncturing his opponent's testicles. It bled to death right there behind those high stone walls. They found it the next morning in the silence of its own dust. This will be my last poem. It's called Postcard from Acapulco. The night here is taking me towards eternity, towards an unbuttoning, somewhere beneath oiled palm leaves, under the mouth of sea drizzle. I'm standing near an emptied street, inside the crooked hands of God. I'm looking down from a roof, observing the city of wet and blurred yellows. In the distance, further than I can navigate with my eyes, an open shore. The gravel is thickening between my yesterdays and my tomorrows. Wake me up when I've reached peace, when I've mapped these ruins and star patterns. Maybe I won't. After I've tongued agua de coco and danced with el Espíritu Santo, I will leave my sand in pockets with a jungle I cannot untangle inside my throat. Thank you.